Hi there, and welcome back to the Deborah Peters Show. It's absolutely my pleasure to have you join me today. I have an amazing guest. We're going to get into that whole mind-body connection thing and give you some tools so you can heal your body and expand your life and be happy. And, I love to bring these kind of tools to the table. I had a physician reach out to me on LinkedIn yesterday, and he was telling me about an invention that he made. And I just was so passionate in my response to him about how the medical industry makes tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars off of individuals because they're ill. And today I want to get into the consciousness of health, which is what this show is all about. This show is all about consciousness. This show is about living your life on the leading edge of thought and moving past that box of programming you've been orbiting in for maybe all of your life, maybe generations, who knows? And to just really get a good understanding that consciousness is everything. God is consciousness, and God is everything. So how do you shift into the leading edge of thought? Well, I've broken it down into 5 main areas. So your health, because your health is everything. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. You can't move, you can't work, you can't enjoy life. You just, if you're not bouncing out of bed in the morning, something's wrong. And so then there's the wealth part. A lot of people say, I don't need money. Money's, they've got all these limiting beliefs about money. Money's bad and evil and dirty and all that. And it's like, well, try getting through life without money. You need money. You need money to have experiences. You need money to get on an airplane. You need money to eat. And these days you need a lot of it to eat. So, and then of course there's relationships, because your relationships are a mirror of you. So if you're not getting on with people, then it's time to do some self-reflection. And of course, business, because business is, it's the driving force to our economy. It's what employs people. It's what gives you a platform to bring all your gifts and talents to the table and express them and turn them into tangible experiences that serve humanity. I hope you're in business to be of service to humanity, because that makes it a lot more fulfilling. And then there's the whole self-expression part. And so who are you? Who are you being? And how are you expressing that to the world? And what are you not tapping into that God's planted in your heart, that you could be tapping into? So that's what this show is all about. And my guest today hails all the way from Connecticut. And she is an amazing health and mindset coach. Her name is Abbey. And thank you for joining me. We just did the pre-interview a few days ago, so we're all like fresh and ready to go.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you. Yeah. And so do you have all the autumn colors in Connecticut now? Is everything kind of like orange and red and blue and brown?
Yeah, it's starting. I actually was, my daughter had off school yesterday. And so I took her on a little bit of a drive, and it was the first time I really noticed it, that like part of the trees are still green, but then other parts of them are popping with yellows and reds. And of course I had my sunglasses on, which just make it even more vibrant.
Of course.
It's starting to be very beautiful up here.
Yeah, I flew through Charleston about a week ago, and from the air you could see, and I was like, okay, I think I need to do a road trip to North Carolina and just like soak it all in,
Yeah. Get your fill and then go back.
Well,
what's on the other side is not that great, but
right, just go, turn around and come back, and because I spent a long time in California, and it's, I'm a prairie farm girl. I mean, we had seasons, so I miss it. And I love the colors, and I love the crisp air and the warm sun. It's like a hot fudge sundae, it's like You get the cold and you get the warm at the same time.
Yeah, it's that time of year where you're bundled up in the morning and then you're sweating by the afternoon. So
I know.
I don't really know what to wear.
That's
but
funny.
we'll
You
take
dress in
it.
layers. Just
Yeah.
dress in layers. So you help women and men live the life they want to live without compromising their lifestyle too much.
Yes.
So you're saying that we can eat cookie dough and
I'm saying we don't have to give it up.
all right, I got you.
I truly believe, and I do primarily work with women, though I've had some male clients as well. But I just so strongly believe that we can live our healthiest, most confident lives while living that life that we love, that we don't need all of the restrictions. We don't need to put ourselves in this tiny little box of everything we should and shouldn't do, that we can enjoy those things when we realize how our body responds to them. And there's a difference, right? Between like what your mind wants and what your body wants, and connecting those dots is really the most powerful thing I think we can do for ourselves.
Yeah. And also connecting the dots between what's going on with us emotionally.
Yeah.
And what we're craving.
Absolutely.
So what's the connection to that? I remember, gosh, this is like 10 years ago, and I was doing chiropractic on a pretty consistent basis. And I went one day and I got an adjustment, and then like later that night or the next day or something, I had something that had a lot of sugar in it. And it's like blew my neck out. Had to go back for another adjustment. So I was, being aware of what goes on in my body.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all the time. Like I was still eating the sugar, but I was aware enough to notice the trigger and how my neck, went back out of alignment when I consumed the sugar, and my stomach's response to the sugar that sent the signal to my brain, and that my neck then dislodged. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. That's so,
right.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful that first of all, that you made that connection, because a lot of people they would have known that they threw their neck out, but not associated it with anything that they ate particularly. They might have thought, I slept funny, I did this, I did that. But knowing your triggers can be such an important aspect of then controlling what feels really good for us, right? And one of the first things I tell my clients, they come to me looking to improve their eating habits, and a lot of them are addicted to sugar or feel like they have no control over the food. It's for them to realize their response, both physically and mentally. Like, I am a huge proponent that there are no bad foods, only foods that make you feel bad physically or feel bad mentally. Because if you walk away from like the bowl of ice cream or the cookie and you're beating yourself up, well, that wasn't the right food for you. Now you're spending all this time and all this energy beating yourself up about something that you ate, where it's better off to just leave it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think so. I've had my own journey with food. I used to own a gym, and shakes were a big deal. They're still a big deal. So I convinced myself that nothing was really healthy to eat, and that I would just have a shake. I did that for years, and I had to heal myself of that. And I'm happy to say, I'm a reformed shake person. I haven't had a shake in like 3-4 years.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was a tough transition to let go of that. It became a crutch. It was like my way of, I really believe I had an eating disorder, and it was my way of managing that eating disorder and still getting some nutrition. And you're saying, what the triggers are. So for me, it was very psychological.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part I had to heal. I had to tell myself that food is good.
Yeah.
And then I had to teach myself to shop and then meal prep. And going through that actual process
Mm-hmm.
is what healed my psychology on I'm fat, I'm overweight, nothing's healthy, I can't eat, I can do a shake, that's enough. That was a really bad cycle that I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so common that is my history as well in a different sense, right? And I think that's what's so important for us to know is that this can look different for everybody. But if you are struggling with thinking food is bad, thinking that you consume too many calories, that you ruined all of your progress, that you have to start over again, like these are the things that are what I used to think was just normal, right? Like I'm like,
Right.
oh, this is what women do. Women diet and women exercise to burn off calories and women watch what they eat. And yes and no, right? Like, yes, move your body, but don't move your body out of punishment for something that you ate.
Oh my
Don't move
God, yes.
don't move your body just because you've got to burn this off. Move your body because it feels good, because you're gaining more energy from it. You're feeling stronger. You're gaining more confidence. Eat foods that you enjoy, but eat them in a way that makes you feel good, right? And prioritize the foods that your body needs, but without having to completely shut off these other, the sweets.
Yeah.
And you may naturally find that you don't want the sweets as much when you eat more of the healthy stuff, but
100%.
allowing yourself to do that is a journey and it's a practice, right? Because I'm sure for you, as it was for me, it's not a flip of the switch. It's something that you had to
No, that
practice.
was a deep program. And
Yeah.
so you said something really powerful, and that is like, don't work out as a punishment. And I think there's been, at least back in the day when I had owned my gym, there was a big mindset around no pain, no gain. You gotta burn off the calories. So if you consume something, and I mean that's so unhealthy. I ended up just like working out far too much because it became this. The workouts really were what I call an away from driver. It was a pain initiated response to trying to override or fix something that I have done wrong by consuming certain foods or any food. So I would like over exercise. I also had to heal that. So now when I exercise for the joy of it. I exercise for how good it feels and how wonderful I sleep after. Like, it has nothing to do with what I ate that day. It has nothing to do with what's wrong with my body. Like, I no longer tell myself I have to do this because there's something wrong with my body. I do it because I love myself and it feels good and it balances out my life. Instead of, sitting or just being sedentary. I add in that vigorous workout and that balances out my life, and then everything runs smoother. But it's not a punishment. Not like it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my clients recently said to me, she's like, it's a small sacrifice for a big gain. Right.
Yes.
And it's like, and I say a small sacrifice, in her case, particularly, it was about getting up earlier, right, to get her workouts in before she went to work. And she knew like her day just runs so much better. She's less stressed, right? She's got more patience. She feels more organized and accomplished. And it's like that little bit of sacrifice, because there may be days where you're like, I don't want to work out, whether you work out in the morning or in the afternoon, it may be the last thing that you want to do. But if you can take yourself to the end result, to when your workout is done, like what you're gaining from doing that, whether it's 10 minutes or an hour long, like what do you gain? And I know that was me this morning. My alarm went off and I was like, I don't even know what day it was. Like I had to look at my phone and be like, what day is it? Like I was so confused, but I brought myself back as much as I wanted to go back to sleep. I just brought myself back to, if I do this, it's going to be so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the working out part. What about the inner stuff? The self-talk.
Yeah.
How big of a part that plays in how our body functions?
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that is the part. I
It's the
think
main part, isn't it?
that, yes, I really, and again, this is years and years of my own negative self-talk and seeing the results of that, right? Like
Yeah.
when you are constantly beating yourself up, you will end up constantly beating yourself up about whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's no longer about your health, but that's just the story that you've told yourself. And that's always going to be the result that you get, is that you're always going to feel like it's not enough, right? Because that's basically what you're telling yourself. Some way or another, you're telling
saying
yourself,
I'm not enough.
You're not enough. And then that's going to end up as the result in every area of your life. And I like how you broke down the different pillars of health and wealth and relationships, and because that's just going to be your story throughout. Your partner will never be enough. Your work will never be enough. Your wealth will never be enough. If that's the story that you keep telling yourself over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But you have to become aware of that story first, right? Like,
well, I think we need to choose it.
Yes, absolutely.
It has to be a choice. Like, how does someone who's stuck in a particular paradigm expand outside of that paradigm? And in this case, it's to do with your health.
Yeah.
You have to choose it.
Yes.
Because there can always be excuses, you know?
Yeah. And that's where that awareness comes in.
Yeah.
You have to become aware of how you're talking to yourself. And then you have to decide that you don't want that anymore.
And I want to come back to this again. It's like, in order to become aware, you have to choose the unknown. That's what I'm trying to say. So,
yeah.
Right. So we know what we know, we live what we know, and we typically don't deviate from that. So if we would like to feel better, for example, then we have to choose the unknown, because we may not know what it takes to feel better. We may have no idea. But if we choose it anyway, it presents itself. Right?
Yeah, 100%. You have to believe that it's something else is possible.
Yes.
Right? And that's often the very first thing I do with my clients is you have to believe that this thing that you want, whether it's more energy, more confidence, less weight, like whatever that may be, that it's possible for you regardless of all of the things that you've tried in the past. Right? Because I know I get on calls with my clients, the very first call, and they're like, I've tried all of these things, right? I've tried every diet under the sun. Nothing works.
Me too.
That's what they say. Nothing works. And I'm like, no, you just haven't found what works for you yet. But let's picture yourself in that future state. What is that future state? What does that look like for you? And do you believe that it's possible for you to end up there?
But so here could be a choke point, because what if they don't believe? And I think that there's a step before that. And the step before that is just, you know what you don't want.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to be whatever is going on with me. I don't want to be that. Whether you have you're overweight, or you have a lot of inflammation, or you're not limber, or you have some kind of massive or major disease, whatever it is, you got to know that this is what you don't want.
Yeah.
And then whatever's over here, you don't know what that is yet, but therein lies the question. Well, what else is possible? If I know I don't want this, this is an open slate. This is a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And now maybe use your imagination and say to yourself, wow, I'd like to feel like I'm jumping out of bed in the morning. I'd like to feel like I could walk into any store and take it off the rack and put it on.
Yeah.
You know, without wiggling in and out of it. You know, it's just like whatever. You know, I'd like to be able to get in and out of my car with ease and grace. Yeah. And I'd like to walk up and down the stairs without any issues, whatever. Whatever this blank slate is.
Yeah.
Accept that it's a blank slate. And once you open your mind to that, then the rest starts to flow. Yeah. Right?
Yes. And then it's about those little steps to get there.
Yes.
Right. Oftentimes, you know, we've got here's where we are and here's where we want to be. And there's a big gap in between. And we think we've got to take this massive leap to get to the other side. And that leap will fix everything. Once we nail that leap down, we are good. But that leap usually ends us right back to where we started, because it's not a sustainable thing. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. It stresses us out. It's all of the things, right? And so it's about, how do you build that little step? It's like building the, you know, like those bridges that are like slat by slat, you know, to get to the others. It's like, you have to believe that every plank you lay down is getting you a step closer to the other side. And if you keep laying down those slats, if you keep taking those steps to get to the other side, you're going to get there.
Yeah, because it reveals itself. So that brings us to like a higher mind principle, and that's one of faith. You know, having the faith that you don't have the answer.
Yeah.
But once you decide you want it, the answer comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that throws, I think what that does is it throws the breaker circuit box on your hormones so that they can balance out and let your body heal. You know, there's such a huge connection between our thoughts and our bodies. Like, our cells are eavesdropping on every thought we think.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had a conversation with a physician a couple months ago, and he said to me, he challenged me, and he goes, well, why then does something like some kind of disease show up in this organ in the body and not that organ? Because my argument was that I am fundamentally opposed to starting to cut out body parts as an answer to a disease, right? Because your body's all connected. Like it's like peeing in the pool, you know? When you pee in the pool, it's everywhere. It's not just in this little corner where you peed, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, remember when they used to have smoking sections in restaurants? It smelled everywhere. Who are we joking? So, and his response back was, well, you know, why isn't it in another organ but it's in this organ? And I said, well, it's just a matter of time. So if you cut out this organ, then because it's in the mind, which is the root of all influence on every cell in the body, then it's just a matter of, the more you focus on that limiting belief or those negative emotions or regrets or whatever they are, then they just will impact another organ. So how much can you cut out?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, to that point, what you focus on grows.
Yes.
Right. If you're focused on not having control around food, you're never going to feel in control around food. That's going to be the only thing that you can think of. When you get to a party, you're going to see, you know, all the food laid out, and you're going to be like, I have no control over this. And you're going to end up eating all night long at the party. Right.
But that's a mindset decision in advance. Like, I know,
or it can happen in the moment too. I think it's a mindset thing for sure. But I think you can also decide at any point in time.
You can. I just know for myself, when I was, I had a lot of addictive thinking. So then I had a lot of addictive issues with food.
Yeah.
So when I would go to a party, if I decided in advance how much I was going to indulge in,
Yeah.
then I would I'd be good then. I could stick to my commitment. Sometimes, most times, it required recommitting in the moment in front of the
Yeah.
buffet, right?
Yeah.
But I found that having that dialogue with myself before I went really helped me a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
It's planning for what you want, and then it's planning for all the things that could get in the way, right?
Right.
If you want to feel in control of food and you're like, well, I'm good when I'm at home, but what if this party comes up? Or what if I go out to eat? Or what, you think of all of these things that can come up in advance, the things that would normally bring you down, and start to prepare your mind for them in advance. It's like making, to your point, it's making the decisions in advance so that you don't have to make them in the moment. Or
Yeah.
when you find yourself at the food table at the party, like going back for more and more and more, you can be like, wait a minute, this feels weird, because you've already made that decision that you weren't going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an intention. So let's talk a little bit about our innate divine blueprint for perfect health.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I believe that our bodies will always find our healthiest version of ourselves, and that there is so much in our control. There are things that we can never predict, right? Like you can't say, I'm never going to end up with this disease or that disease, but there is so much that you can do that's in your control to take every step that you can to live your healthiest life. And I think when you combine your mindset with the healthy habits and the awareness of how your body is responding to things, you find yourself in a place where your health starts to fall into place, where things feel good to you, that, movement is no longer punishment. It's something that you just do. Prepping meals or planning meals and choosing well-balanced, colorful meals, focused on protein and vegetables and all of that stuff, just becomes who you are. Like these things will become who you are, and your body will become what it was always meant to be.
Right, because we're when we come into this world, we are pure love. As a little baby, we're just pure love, and we are assuming that pregnancy went well and everybody was healthy emotionally and the mom was in a good place. That last trimester of the pregnancy influences the psychosis of the baby. But let's just assume everything's good. And that baby comes in happy, healthy, emotionally aware, balanced, etc. It takes a lot of programming and conditioning to undermine that over time. Yet percolating in the background is always that divine innate blueprint for perfect health. And all we have to do is align with it. So aligning with it is a multi-step process. And the first thing is becoming really self-aware so that you can address your unconscious or your subconscious. I call it unconscious because I think it's the part of us we're not aware of. And it's not sub anything, it's the biggest part. So our unconscious, we need to be able to pay attention to what's stuck in there and to release it, to let resentments go, to let grudges go, to let old memories die, to, so we can allow that blueprint for perfect health to do what it's meant to do. I mean, we're designed for homeostasis, and every cell has the capacity for regeneration. It's it's the choices we make, it's the life we lead, it's the lack of mastery over our mind and our emotions that messes up our homeostasis.
Yeah. And it's, I think that children is such a great example, right? And I always think of kids when I have two little ones. So if they are outside playing and I call them in for dinner, the last thing they want to do is sit down and eat dinner, right? Like they may come in when I'm like, it's dinner time. You need to come in and eat. And they want to take a couple bites and then they want to be back outside playing.
Yeah.
Because for them, that is that emotional fulfillment. That is that joy that they are seeking in life, is being outside, being, having fun, being kids and playing. And as time goes on, we forget about that and we find emotional fulfillment on our plates,
In
right?
food, yeah.
Yes, or we're so stressed out about life or work or family or whatever it may be, or we're so preoccupied with emails and social media and all of the things, right? That we are not focused on the present moment like kids are, right? I mean, it goes to show kids laugh like 100 plus times a day and adults laugh like less than 20, right? Like we take ourselves out of just experiencing life and all that life has to bring us. And we get so focused on finding things elsewhere that we're not present with what is happening. And so we don't often pay attention to how much we're eating or why we're eating things.
Or what if we don't eat at all?
Yes. All of these things like come together and it knocks it a little off balance. And so I think that's where that awareness really plays into our health of like, what's happening when you are stressed? What's your reaction? Do you eat? Do you not eat? Do you eat too much? Do you shut down? Do you move your body? Do you curl up on the couch? Do you like, and that's just one example of things, but bringing that awareness to it so that way you can find that place that feels good, that it gives your body what it needs when it needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned stress. I think it's worth noting that whatever's going on in the mind is going on in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And how what goes on in our mind triggers our brain, because our brain is a transmitting and receiving mechanism. It's the mind, which is in every cell of our bodies, that does the thinking and the emoting.
Yeah.
So all of that's connected. And I just want to cover something off here that there's a thing called the vagus nerve. I've been studying this for a couple of years now, VAGAS. And the vagus nerve is the longest running nerve in the human body. And it travels from the stomach to the brain. And it sends information both ways, right? So if your brain is transmitting stress or receiving stress from others, it's going to send that information to the stomach, and it's going to cause the stomach all sorts of issues. If you're what would the word be? If you're undernourished, skipping meals, starving yourself, eating poorly, having guilt over what you do eat, all the emotional stuff, the stomach sends that to the brain. And it's this constant communicative loop that can totally hijack your entire life,
Yeah.
So I just feel like we're in such an amazing time right now where we can have access to this information, and we don't have to run to the doctor to get an answer about what's going on with our bodies. We should be our own doctor first and get to know your own body better than anyone.
Yeah.
So that you can go to your doctor and say, this is what's going on with me. This is what it's connected to. This is what I believe the root cause is to be. And this is what I think I need from you.
Yeah.
Because you work for me. You're not my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think we need to, we really need to look at this very, very closely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to be your own advocate. I think it's important to know what's happening. And I like that you mentioned the root cause, because a lot of the times we don't go that deep to find the root cause of why things are happening or what we could potentially do to fix it, right? And I think that goes for everything, I mean, if you talk about stress, people are like, well, every time I'm stressed, I, feel this way. And then when you dig into what's happening when they're stressed, you find that, every time they're stressed, they're reaching for the bag, the big bag of M&Ms or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, that's making you feel this way. And it's having this ripple effect. And you're not doing the things to actively help you manage your stress. You're doing the things to maybe subside it a little bit in that moment, but getting to the root cause of like, okay, what's causing you the stress in the first place? And how can you then deal with that thing? And what's in your control? And how can you respond to that? And that's going to set that ripple in place that then can lead to, discussions with your doctor and discussions with a coach and discussions with a therapist or whatever you need, whatever your support is. It will lead you there.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, this has been fantastic. So what is the life that you want to live? And then going all in on the commitment. I know you have something to say on that.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, for all of us, the life we want to live looks different. And that's for us as individuals to get very clear on what that looks like, and what does that look like now? And what does that look like in the future?
Like down the road a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. 5 years, 10 years, 20, 50 years. Like, what is it that you want? Because the things that you do today are going to set you up for that longer haul, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And, we often hear a lot about the all or nothing mentality, right? People go all in and then they feel like they've given up, or they feel like they hit a snag and they messed up, I should say. So then they give up completely. They're like, well, I'll just start over on Monday, or this didn't work, I'll find something else. And so it's that all or nothing, and all or nothing will always lead you to nothing.
All or nothing.
It's nothing. So I like to reframe it as all in on your commitment. So when you think about that healthier life, that life that you want, if you go all in on your commitment to get that life, you're going to keep going. You're going to keep going no matter what happens, no matter what life throws at you, what obstacles come up, because you are all in committed to figuring it out. Because the road is not always easy, right? Like, we didn't sign up for easy. That's not what life is about. I think if any of us thought everything was easy breezy, we would be bored and we'd be looking for something to make it difficult, right? What we signed up for is that vision that we have for ourselves, more energy, more confidence, a body that we're proud of when we look in the mirror, muscles, whatever that may look like for you. And as long as your feet are pointed in that direction, you will get there. You just have to be committed. Again, it goes back to building the slats across that bridge. You have to be committed that you're building that bridge, that you will get there. And if you come across a slat that was too small, that didn't fit, that didn't work, that something just you found was not it, it's not that you have to start over again. You have to learn from it, and you just have to keep going.
Well, yes. And we can start over any minute.
Yeah.
And when we start over from where we left off. We don't start over at the beginning.
Yeah. We're not throwing in the towel to wipe the slate clean.
Yeah. Not going back and starting there. It's like, I'm going to start over right here, but I'm starting over with all this momentum behind me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So give us your URL. How do people find you?
Yeah, so they can find me at www.wellnesswithabbych.com. Abbey is with an E, and I'm on Instagram at wellnesswithabbych as well.
That's fantastic. And do you have some programs and whatnot coming up for people?
Yes, so I actively am enrolling in my 6-month coaching program. That is a one-on-one private coaching program where we do exactly this work. We explore that where you are and where you want to be, and how together we bridge that gap in a completely customized approach.
Oh, that's exciting. So everybody check out Abbey H on Instagram, right?
Yes, Wellness with Abbey H. Yep.
Wellness with Abbey H.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. This has been good.
Yeah, thank you. It was great
Yeah.
to talk with all of you.
Yeah. And just remember, everybody, you know, your health is your wealth, and you're going to get the results from your health based on the attention you give to it, not just the attention, but also the intention. And shopping for yourself and prepping some food and sitting down and eating it without watching TV or reading something, and just enjoying and savoring the food itself is the highest act of self-love. Because when you nourish your body, your whole life shifts. So that's where it all starts and stops. So thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, dropping a comment. And remember, everybody, stay aligned, stay alert, and stay awake.